this was a retired professional man in his 70s who had had lots and lots and lots of therapy, was extremely intelligent, very intellectualized. And so it was actually quite delightful when he said, after a very long intellectualized presentation of himself, he said, "I'm here because I want to feel alive." I used my treatment model called trauma-informed stabilization treatment, or TIST, with him, which focuses on the attachment relationship between young, unintegrated parts and whomever the kind of wisest, best self we all have become as adults and as a result of our experience. And so he started to be able to connect a little bit as he felt for this little boy he had once been. And he could feel the little boy's pain. He could feel the impulse to protect and comfort that little boy. And that gave him aliveness, but it wasn't the aliveness he was looking for. He was looking for aliveness in pleasure, in joy. He wanted to feel joyful. And then gradually, we were able to get to this intellectual part. So I said to him, I said, you have a very, very strong, powerful intellectual part. Very sharp, very smart, very articulate. And I thought, I bet that intellectual part helped you get out of Dodge. And he said, absolutely, absolutely. Because I was never home because I was at debate club or I was doing this or doing that. And this brain of mine got me to college. And because of it, I'm here now. So I said, yes, you owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to your intellectual brain, to this thinker inside you. I always identify the intellectualizing part as a kind of hero who's helped the client to survive. Because if I start by trying to get the intellectual part to feel or to allow other feelings to surface, the intellectual part is going to give me a hard time. So we started with this awareness of how often I think I called it the thinking part, how often the thinking part popped up. And there was a day when he started to feel some emotion, and the thinking part immediately analyzed it. And I said, wow, look at that. You had a feeling. And the intellectual part said, get out of your heart and into your head, and immediately analyzed it. Do you still feel the feeling? And he said, not really. So look at that. The intellectual part saves you from this feeling that you've been wanting to have, right? You've been wanting to feel alive. You've been wanting to feel your feelings. And the intellectual part keeps bypassing the heart and taking you back into your head. And so that's how we got to the aliveness, really was through his recognizing the intellectual part, interrupting his moments of connection, whether positive or negative emotional connection, and not going there. Making a choice to notice what was in his heart instead of automatically defaulting to his head. I asked him to remember all the things that he'd done in his life, or still did, that felt good. And then we could start having him begin to reinstate those things that made him feel alive in his life. So he remembered that he loved to dance. He loved music. And so we worked out a plan where instead of exercising dutifully and effortfully, he would dance for the 15 minutes of exercise twice a day that he thought he should get. And he was ecstatic. He said, I haven't had this much fun in years, maybe in my life. And so it was one thing after another. It was like rediscovering all the things that had given him pleasure and giving himself permission to feel the pleasure rather than just engage in the activity. To me, that combined working on the trauma, but also working very practically. Because sometimes trauma survivors of neglect have to retrain their brains and bodies to connect to those things and those feelings that are important to me. It's not just deep therapeutic work. We also need a lot of retraining in order to access qualities and feelings that we all possess, but have access to them has been lost because of the trauma.